3811. The Democrats this election are also promising Medicare for all. All of you folks on Medicare, I want you to listen to me. You really need to pay attention to this. Investors Business Daily nails it. Democrats won't tell voters how radical Medicare for all actually is. You see, ladies and gentlemen, Medicare for all, what they mean by that is Medicare for nobody. Remember when Republicans said that Obamacare was designed to fail so Democrats could push single payer? That was called conspiracy mongering. But guess what? Obamacare is failing. And Democrats are now pushing Medicare for all, quote unquote, as the solution. You hear these Democrats running for governor, like Gillum in Florida. You hear them running for the Senate and the House. Medicare for all, Medicare. Don't you all love Medicare? The trouble is Democrats aren't telling voters anything about what Medicare for all actually means. Probably because the plan would be the most radical socialization of health care on the planet. Everyone from New York socialists, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to Texas Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke, to Florida gubernatorial candidate Gillum, they've called for Medicare for all. This is now the official position of every Democrat running for the House, every Democrat running for the Senate, every Democrat running for governor. This is their collective position. Now, what would Medicare for all, what would it do? Well, here are the facts. Based on the bills, the actual bills in the House and the Senate, you would lose your existing plan, whatever plan you have. On Medicare, employer plan, it doesn't matter. It would outlaw existing private health insurance, number one. All of it. That includes all employer-provided plans, individually purchased insurance, every single union plan. It also means an end to the increasingly popular private Medicare Advantage insurance plans. All gone. These private insurance plans, seniors have been flocking to specifically to avoid enrolling in existing Medicare plans. If you like your plan, you're guaranteed not to be able to keep it. They will all be outlawed. That's what they mean. I know you didn't hear this on CNN and MSNBC. I know you didn't hear it on Good Morning America or the Today Show. You're hearing it from me through the excellent writing of Investors Business Daily. Second, Medicare for all will have the government pay all medical costs. There'd be no co-pays or deductibles on anything, from doctor visits, surgery, and drugs to long-term care, dental, and vision. The only thing not covered would be cosmetic surgery. Keep in mind, no other country on the planet does this. Even in socialist countries like Sweden and Denmark, people pay 14 to 15% of health costs out of pocket. Canada doesn't cover prescription drugs, and private insurance picks up 13% of the country's health care bills. Even in China, people buy private insurance to cover co-pays and deductibles, and the Chinese pay almost a third of health care costs out of their pockets. So Democrats, listen, are rushing to endorse a plan that is more socialistic than communist China's plan. Now, Medicare for all. It would also nearly double the size of the federal government. Double the size of the federal government. A recent analysis of Bernie Sanders' current Medicare for all plan, which is supported by Gillum and people like him, finds that it would cost the federal government $32.6 trillion over the first 10 years. And we know these analyses are always wrong. They're always low. $32.6 trillion. Plus free college for everybody, right? Free health care. The trustees of Medicare say Medicare is going broke in 8 years. 8 years. So the Democrats have a plan, massively expand it and destroy it. It's incredible. And that's vast understatement of its true cost, since the analysis assumes draconian payment cuts to providers and unrealistic savings on administrative and prescription drug costs. It also ignores the enormous cost of delays and rationing that invariably result from government-run healthcare. In other words, all the people who will die, all the people who will suffer when a government takes over a system like this. Democrats pushing Medicare for all say that those costs are irrelevant because people will no longer have to pay premiums or spend any money out of pocket. What they don't say is that everyone would face huge tax increases to finance this government takeover of health care. Bernie Sanders' plan starts with an 8.4% hike in payroll taxes, sharply higher income tax rates, and more, none of which would fully cover the exorbitant costs. How many more failed countries, ladies and gentlemen, must we copy? This is Venezuela. This is the prescription of Venezuela. Phony support for Medicare for all. Democrats also point to surveys showing strong support for Medicare for all. A Reuters Ipsos poll found 70% backing it, including a majority of Republicans. But that's because people have no idea what Medicare for all actually means. When Reuters substitutes the term single payer or government-run health care, support collapses to as little as 40%, down from 70%. And that's exactly why the Democrats camouflage their true intentions and lie and deceive the American people. But even that's probably too high, 40%. A separate Kaiser Family Foundation survey found almost half of Americans wrongly believe they could actually keep their existing health plans under a single-payer system. Incredibly, Democrats are the most ill-informed. The poll found 52% of Democrats think they'll be able to keep their health care plans. I mean, that's absurd, right? If they're going to nationalize health care, a single-payer system, destroy Medicare, destroy all private insurance, including your employer insurance, well, how are you going to keep your plan? Still, lack of public support didn't stop Democrats from imposing Obamacare on the nation 8 years ago. Won't stop them from imposing, quote-unquote, Medicare for all if they ever get the chance. The only way to prevent such a disaster is to keep Democrats out of power, at least until their socialist fever breaks. This is another reason you need to go to the polls, ladies and gentlemen. These rogue leftists are so thoroughly and completely irresponsible. They want to impose their ideology on you, and these have real-life consequences. It matters to your family. It matters to the health of your family. It matters to people who have private insurance. It matters to people who are on Medicare. It's incredible what they've been proposing. Cory Booker, an opportunity account, as high as $50,000 for a kid. There's no end to what they want to do, how they want to manipulate us, control us, take from us, steal from us. That's why I say all the time that progressivism is un-American. It's absolutely un-American. There is absolutely no constitutional support or basis for progressivism, none, which is why they're truly hostile to the Constitution, as you saw in the last judicial confirmation proceedings. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
They got a radical kook running for governor of Georgia. Stacey Abrams. A radical kook. And we just talked about health care. Here's what she said in Atlanta on Sunday. Cut 15, go.
We can educate bold and ambitious children, but our fundamental responsibility is to take care of the least of these. Especially when the least of these are working families who only want a little bit of access to health care. And I am sick and tired of hearing about the free market being the solution to this problem. Because I've never seen the free market write a prescription in rural Georgia. I mean, never seen the free market.
How stupid is this? This kind of demagogue. I've never seen the free market write a prescription in rural Georgia. Well, let's just stop for a second. The pharmacy wouldn't exist but for the free market. The drugs would not exist but for the free market. The scientists working on the drugs. The capital investment to come up with these drugs. Where do these people think these drugs come from? People sink hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, into finding drugs to help people with diabetes and heart disease and Alzheimer's and so forth and so on. We should be celebrating people who commit their lives to this, rather than this kind of demagoguery. People in rural Venezuela have nothing. People in rural Cuba have nothing. Nothing. Why do you think the Chinese government has to steal from us? They'd have nothing too, because communism doesn't work. People in rural Georgia, she's sick of the free market. It's funny how most rural areas vote Republican. Anyway, go ahead.
Metformin so they can have a little bit of control of their diabetes before it turns into an amputation of their foot.
Just listen to this idiot. Listen to this idiot. Let me tell you something, and this is a fact. There are some prescriptions that are very, very expensive because it took a long time to develop them. There's an enormous amount of money that pours into them, and they're not widely used. In other words, they're for very specific types of cancer, very specific types of diseases, and so forth and so on. If you can show any pharmaceutical company, any, your tax returns, or if you don't, maybe you don't even have tax returns, you're that poor, they will provide you with the prescriptions for free or at an enormously reduced cost, but often for free. They have programs where they specifically do that. So if you truly cannot afford metformin, and I don't know if that's the right name or not, or a very expensive prescription, and you can show, based on your income or your lack thereof, that you can't, in about a week to 10 days' time, I had a friend who worked for one of these organizations, you will get those medications almost always for free. Why doesn't anyone ever talk about that? What this idiot will not talk about is the problem of supply and demand. If everything's free, if everything's subsidized, there's less and less of it. There's less and less investment into new cutting-edge drugs, new quality of life technologies and drugs. There's less and less of it. Remember, the left is about redistribution. It's not about production. It's about redistribution. It's not about growth. It's about redistribution. Go ahead.
Market say I'm going to replace that stent in your heart next door, not make you go.
But for the free market, there would be no stent to put in your heart. Maybe I'm missing something. Don't we have Medicaid in this country, Mr. Producer? And 25 cents out of every single dollar spent by every state goes into Medicaid. Am I missing something? I thought the left had already solved this problem. In 1965, shortly after Medicare was founded, they founded Medicaid. I thought Medicaid was supposed to resolve all this. Apparently it doesn't. So what do we need? More government. That'll fix it. Medicare for all. That'll fix it. Go ahead.
Miles to get it done. The problem with the free market is the free market needs to make a profit. And there is no profit in doing the right thing.
Well, if they don't make a profit, there's nothing to invest. Why, ladies and gentlemen, do people put faith in somebody like this, or Bernie Sanders, or the whole phalanx of leftists to make judgments about industry, to make judgments about society, to make judgments about your own life, your own quality of life. Why do you put faith in somebody like this? She doesn't know anything about healthcare. She doesn't know the first thing about medicine. She doesn't know anything about doctors and nurses. She doesn't know about pharmaceutical companies. She doesn't know about capital investment for pharmaceutical companies. She apparently doesn't know about these free programs that the pharmaceutical companies have, and they spend billions of dollars doing it. She apparently is utterly and completely illiterate on the subject. It doesn't matter. She's an ideologue. Like Obama's an ideologue, like Gilliam's an ideologue, like Sanders is an ideologue, like Warren is an ideologue. Doesn't matter. Experience is irrelevant. Knowledge is irrelevant. Facts are irrelevant, even though they claim to possess all of them. There's no profit in doing the right thing, she says. Why do socialists do the right thing? Do communists do the right thing? Do bureaucrats always do the right thing? This constant attack on the private sector, on capitalism, and the inability of most people to confront it and address it is very frustrating to me. Look around you, ladies and gentlemen. Look around you. The overwhelming majority of what you see was not created by the government. It was created by individual initiative, or a group of individuals getting together. It was created through freedom and private property rights, and yes, a market system. A market system. We don't even appreciate what we have and who we are and what we've built. Instead, we have these radicals who talk like morons. Just throw around phrases, Medicare for all. There's no profit in doing the right thing. There's a hell of a lot of men and women who've spent their lives committed to finding cures. Who've spent their lives to finding cures, more than Miss Stacey Abrams ever did. And they need to be paid. And there needs to be investments. And you have to have R&D, and you have to have capital. And that's how the system works, and it works so brilliantly. It's why we have more patents than any multiple of countries put together.